You're watching Chillyboy Productions. I'm Larry Chillyboy Chilson, and this is my review for Memoir of a Snail. Now, before we get into this review, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. Memoir of a Snail is a 2024 stop-motion animated drama directed by Adam Elliott. After a series of misfortunes, a snail-collecting melancholic misfit learns how to find confidence within herself among the everyday clutter of life. The film stars the voice talents of Sarah Snook, Jackie Weaver, Eric Bana, and Cody Smith McPhee. The Memoir of a Snail was playing at the 2024 Denver Film Festival as it ramps up for the full nationwide theatrical release. As a fan of animation, particularly as a champion of stop motion animation, of course, I was so excited for this film. Now, it looked a little bit weird, looked a little bit quirky, but anytime we get like a good R-rated, adult-themed stop motion animation, you know I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there to support. And I was so excited to check this out, particularly with all of the praise it has been getting. And I can certainly see why it's received that praise. Memoir of a Snail certainly is a special piece of storytelling pie. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. Well, the story overall is a positive. I really enjoy the balance we have here of very depressing, melancholic storytelling. The events that happen, it kind of feels like, goodness, what else can go on for a good part of it? But then we balance it with these really beautiful moments. And we get to these aspects that are hopeful and sun shining through the dark clouds. And I thought it was really well handled, the sprinkling of the optimism amongst the darkness and the melancholy that the film exudes overall. I also found myself highly relating to her brother in this film, Gilbert. Now, I'm not a pyromaniac. I'm not all that obsessed with fire per se, but most everything else about that character I really identified with and was able to kind of find myself within as I was watching. And even aspects to our main character, Gracie, are really identifiable for anybody who struggles with depression. Anybody who's in a constant struggle with their mental health, I think will find a lot to identify with when it comes to Memoir of a Snail, and it handles those topics and those situations very well. I actually had to run and look after watching the film to see if it was based on the director's personal life. And it's a touch of that and a touch of other experiences. But I was really impressed with the writing because it felt very autobiographical to me, and it wasn't necessarily. So kudos to the screenwriting for creating that level of personal storytelling. Obviously, I'm going to always appreciate the animation. The attention to every detail here is obviously very quirky. So we're actually going to retouch on the animation momentarily. But everything was very intentional. So even stuff I didn't necessarily love with the stylistic choices, it was all very intentional, right down to the color palette of the entire film. Very intentional. I also really enjoyed all of the voice acting. Sarah Snook did a fantastic job, particularly. I could not even recognize her really with this. So I was extremely impressed with her work. Jackie Weaver also really just disappeared into the role. Cody Smith McPhee was fabulous. Everybody did such a good job, and most of them were unrecognizable. So it was nice to see an all-star cast come forward and actually give us voice acting. And the original score was also very lovely, very fitting to the film and the atmosphere we were getting. I loved the music used. So then, what doesn't work so well when it comes to Memoir of a Snail? Well, let's touch on the animation aspect that I talked about in my opening. It's just a personal style choice. Everything is off-putting. And so often, particularly stuff like stop motion, goes down that avenue of so quirky, so kind of ugly that it's charming. But when it's all that kind of weird, ugly character design, eh, it's a little off-putting overall. And I kind of wish we had more aspects of cuteness in here because there's very, very few of those. Like all of the characters are weird and ugly. I would have liked them to rein in the ugly quirk just a tad. And then, particularly when it comes to hoarding, it's funny because this is actually one of the biggest aspects that came from the writer director himself. That's what he brought to the table was dealing with his father's hoarding after he had passed, and it kind of inspired him to jump in here. But for as personal as particularly the melancholy was, I think there are a couple of aspects, and hoarding is probably the main one that falls off with how it's handled at the end. Same thing kind of with another topic that comes up with a man that comes into Gracie's life. I'm not going to say any more, but there's a resolution between her and this man that doesn't feel rooted in personal experience. Some of these topics are actually very complex and very difficult, and they are solved or resolved like that. So honestly, it's a very short film. It's 98 minutes, I believe. It's an adult R-rated animation, so you're not trying to keep the runtime super short for kids. I would have added on maybe just another 5 minutes to let us breathe and explore the emotional weight that comes with some of these deep resolutions. But other than that, I loved the parallels between Gracie and her obsession with snails, how she identified with snails, and I loved how much snails actually played a role in the narrative, in the character work, more than just this quirky little hat for our lead. I found myself highly relating to so much in this film. The melancholic nature of it already spoke to me. So while I do find the animation aesthetic to be a little bit less than pleasant, the material and the substance more than makes up for it. So certainly, if you're an animation fan, please check out Memoir of a Snail. If you're a depressed beach like me, check out Memoir of a Snail. I think you're going to get a lot out of it and feel very seen in this one. So that was my review for Memoir of a Snail. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Memoir of a Snail? Or have you already checked it out as well? Let me know all of your thoughts and comments either in that comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.